way in which the angels work is through doing diagnostic evaluation of what's called the human field of consciousness. Some people would call that the auric field of consciousness. Some would call that the human energy system. Angels have the ability to show where within the human field of consciousness where there's room for healing in all various different types, whether it be physical healing, emotional healing, mental healing, spiritual healing. Angels have ways of showing if there's entities in people's fields. Just go through a process of diagnostic evaluation with the angels and remember how much God loves you and stay in that space of your love for God and your appreciation for God and your gratitude and really do your best to develop mother, father, child relationship with God.
I love you.
Hey, it's Juicy Justine, and this is my special guest today, Anthony Torres.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Anthony speaks to angels and is a hypnotherapist and opening up a vegan restaurant soon. He's doing so many things. So proud of you. Tell us more about what you do. Oh, and you've written so many books, right?
Well,
5
no, I
books.
want to say so many. I mean,
So
I've
many.
written two books, mostly
Call from Home, right?
autobiography style books. Yeah, there's more in the making, but yeah, we got 2.
And your apparel here. That is a plug.
Yeah, we got the apparel. You guys go check out Gold-Encompass.com. Check it out. It's good stuff.
Wow, you're a great creator.
Thank
Conscious creator.
Thank you. Good to be here with everyone today.
What a blessing to have you here. Tell us more about your angel healing. I have a lot of people that ask me about that with you.
Do with the angels. I work with them. I originally was taught how to work with angels for purposes of healing from my mentor, whose name is Peter Selby. He was originally a physical therapist before he came into the angels, revealing how to work with them for purposes of helping people to heal. So my training began in unofficially like 1998, and I completed my official training in 2012 in Sisters, Oregon with my mentors. It was about it was an extensive training period, and yeah, I've been working with them professionally ever since.
So what does that entail?
That's a good question. I mean, meaning like, what does it entail from the standpoint of the actual sessions, or like the philosophy behind it, or
Both the philosophy and how the sessions go.
in essence, the way in which the angels work is through doing diagnostic evaluation of what's called the human field of consciousness. Some people would call that the auric field of consciousness. Some would call that the human energy system. Angels have the ability to show where within the human field of consciousness where there's room for healing in all various different types, whether it be physical healing, emotional healing, mental healing, spiritual healing. Angels have ways of showing if there's entities in people's fields, unresolved conflicts from all different points and times throughout their life, physical issues, psychological issues, and we just go through a process of diagnostic evaluation with the angels to come to terms with what the relevant themes are for healing. And then from there, it's a extensive process of explaining that to the client, making sure we're on the same page with what's going on and the roots of the matter and just all the ins and outs of what the particular issue is. And then we go into a healing of those things. And the healing process is about a 3 to 9 month long period of healing, depending on the nature of the process, the nature of the things that came up during the angels evaluations. It's unique based upon the situation. So
Very. And you get permissions from the angels. It's not no dark magic, right?
well, angels can only work, like guardian angels can only work through invitation and permission. So that's the nature of this world, and it being kind of a free will zone. And they respect free will, and they can really only help if we invite them and give them permission and consent to do so.
What have been some profound healing stories with the angels that you've done? Testimonials.
You know, I could speak on some of those. I don't know who's going to be watching the podcast, so I'd kind of need to keep it, like non-disclosure. Maybe I'll change some genders or whatever. But I mean, there's just been so many. It's at this point in time, it's been so much. I'd have to sit and really reflect on.
You did one on me. We could talk about that.
If you'd like to.
We could.
One is, my own.
Ooh, let's talk about yours.
My own healing process. Like I went through a lot in life.
Yeah, you did.
And
You have quite the past.
I have quite the past, and
record.
there were. I don't know. Yes, exactly. Thank you for that. It was just so many things. If you really look at like my childhood, and I'm not going to get into like the entirety of my whole lifespan, but it was really, really challenging. Anytime you're born of a drug addicted mother with no father, like that in itself is a huge challenge in the adversity that poses within a person's psyche. So, navigating through all of that throughout my life, and then again, and doing everything I could to navigate through that whenever I began my self-healing process and stepped foot on the path of spirituality, and as well, not just my childhood, but also like my teens. My teens were really, really crazy. By way of my own doing, I put myself in a lot of really sticky situations, and it was really, really intense and crazy. So yeah, that in itself, just that time period of my life, much less my childhood, it took a lot to heal.
How long would you say it took
Peel all that back, but really the majority, like, I put so much effort into the process, right? Therapeutically, doing self-healing stuff, 21 through my 20s, into my early 30s, and made significant progress. But it was really like when I learned how to work with the angels at 33 and began both the sessions with my mentors and self-healing sessions that I really noticed the most progress, and to where I couldn't feel, like, emotionally, I couldn't feel my past anymore. It was like the emotional charge had been cleared out of so many different things, like between issues with my mother and abandonment issues and, some of the trauma that I went through in my teens, self-imposed. As I went through my healing process with the angels, that's when I really began to notice, like, oh, well, like, I can remember what happened in my past, but I have there's no baggage connected to it emotionally.
It doesn't define you.
Yeah, and or energetically, like
right.
I couldn't feel it like emotionally, and it wasn't like any emotional charge of sadness or despair or anything like that. So yeah, my own self-healing process. But since I've been working with the angels professionally, I have like a many 1,000-person client base and all different types of people. I'll speak on one situation that I like to use as an example, and I don't think she'll mind if use anyone's names, but I was working with an extremely established, I'll change her career type, but extremely successful. We'll say she was a lawyer. It's pretty same caliber, is extremely esteemed in her community and in her profession, retired. She was referred to me by another therapist that I had worked with and worked with a lot of her clients as well. So the woman came in. She was a very science-minded person. She wasn't huge on spirituality or God or angels. She just came in because she was highly referred to me by people close to her. So she came in and we began the session, and I opened up the session, of course, with her permission to call forward the assistance of her guardian angels and her connection to God. And we went into the process. The angels started showing a few things, and her resistance to receiving help from other people and hyper independence. But then they showed and revealed that there were ghosts of 3 babies in her aura, fetal ghosts. When I also went into more detail with the angels as to like what the dates were connected to those ghosts. And I explained to her what the angels were showing, and she just turned white and like her jaw dropped, and she looked at me and said, I have never told even my closest family members about these 3 abortions that I had. They've sat with me emotionally ever since, all 3 of them. That's kind of a huge one, and she looked at me and said, there's no way you could ever know this. I haven't told even my closest family members this. And that's when she was like, okay, this is real, really real. So we went into the healing, and that was able to clear up so much guilt and just emotional baggage that this woman was carrying around with her for like 30 years because of these abortions and keeping all that quiet. So that's one example. I could go.
What's the after?
On and on and on.
Aftercare after that. You have a pre and post.
Well, the
right?
post, the aftercare and the healings really depends on the theme of the healing, what's going on, and what are the specific, because there's a million and one various issues that could be happening with a person, and the process of healing is unique for each one of those, or it's unique for a lot of those. So, but with a situation like that, there's no really post session process.
And you can't really fake that either.
No, the angels are just they're gonna clear the guilt and the emotions that were around the abortions and how that's existing in her emotional body, and you just feel lighter and you're not feeling those emotions anymore. So usually when it comes to stuff like that people are just harboring from the past and the healings, the translation of the healing usually completes itself quickly, like almost immediately. The stuff that takes longer to integrate when it comes to the angels' efforts and their ability to help people are like when there's certain characteristics or elements of a person that are deficient. Say like if somebody doesn't have a lot of courage, or say they're undisciplined, like the angels can't guide a person from being one version of self to a new version of self like overnight. It's a step-by-step process, and when they're given permission to help post-session, they'll do everything they can to just drop reminders and insights and also strengthen the areas of a person's energy system that would have to do with discipline. But they might just inspire people to enter into that person's life that are really disciplined, that they can learn from and take example from. It might be the angels guiding a person's consciousness over to like a book that's written about how to be disciplined. It could be so many different things all coming together, like in order to help influence the completion of the healing. Yeah.
What about the people that say, why don't we just pray for free, like to the angels?
Your homegirl should be watching this. Of course, always pray. Stay in prayer. Stay praying.
But what makes your healing different from just prayer?
Issues happen with people, and healing happens with people with nuance. Oftentimes people say, oh, they'll pray for peace. What if there's thing A, B, C, D, E, and F that person has established in their own life that is blocking them from being at peace? You can pray until you're blue in the face for peace. But if you do not change thing A, B, C, D, E, and F that you're doing in your own free will, you are not going to experience that peace that you're praying for because you're blocking it. And your own free will is what's inhibiting your ability to be in that place. So you can pray for peace, but essentially you need to have enough self-awareness and accountability, conscious awareness of what it is that you've established that is working against you. And when it comes to healing and the nature of healing, and especially the work that I do with the angels, there's a very sophisticated evaluation process where they can show what thing A, B, C, D, E, and F is that person has established that might be standing in the way of their peace. Going back to my original statement, like things that lead us into crisis or conflict or issues in life usually have a lot of details, and the process of unpacking that and unraveling that and dealing with all of that also comes with a certain degree of like detail. You need to be able to deal with the situation. So it's not just this broad kind of thing. So you should always pray, and we should always pray to God, and we should stay in prayer with God and stay in the ears of our guardian angels and always request and ask for as much help as we need or want or wish for. And I personally say that there's not a single internal process or external process that the presence of God shouldn't be invited into to participate with you, whether it be mental, emotional, whether it be a life event in your external world. Like, ensure that your connection to God is as strong as it can be through prayer, but also the awareness of how much God loves you and the awareness of your connection to God as its child and as its offspring as far as your soul goes. And remember how much God loves you, and stay in that space of your love for God and your appreciation for God and your gratitude, and really do your best to develop mother-father-child relationship with God, and go to it from that place of intimacy and intimacy in your heart. And you make requests, and when I ask for or invite God's presence into your life or into your heart or into your mind or into your thought processes. And so from that standpoint, with the knowing of how much God loves you, and that's that. So I don't think one is exclusive to the other. You should always pray, and prayer is powerful. Divine intervention is real. But the reality is as well, like, if you're in a place where you're just screwing up through negative thinking or choices or decisions or some type of behavioral thing or your reactivity, whatever it may be, you have compromised yourself and you've gotten yourself into a place that's not good. Angels can help, and they can help you unravel that and unpack that and heal all of those specific elements if you're in a place of accountability and self-awareness and really wanting to take the advice of the divine and make changes.
That's beautiful. And I believe that. What about the people that don't believe in God? What do you say to them, and how do you help elevate and educate them too?
It really depends on like what style of not believing in God that person has. Like there's different
styles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the first
There's
time
different
hearing that.
styles of not believing in God. There's I've been turned away from God because the man-made representations of God have disappointed me in some way, and people create this feeling of betrayal towards God because a religion has failed them, or whatever it may be. So that's one style of people who don't believe in God, the ones that have been turned away from God because of man-made representations of God in the form of religions. Then there's the people that are more science-based and more rational. Like there's a lot of countries in the world that they're just more rational. They for whatever reason, the spiritual mindedness isn't a big part of their culture. So sometimes that's cultural, sometimes it's scientific. Sometimes people are just really science-minded in there. But when it comes to science, if you get deep enough into science and you really, really drill down into science, or you go out there enough with science, typically speaking, like the wisest of scientists usually tap into the knowing at some point in time in their experiential research or whatever they're doing. They usually always, a lot of them come to some epiphany or realization, like there is a God, there is a creator of all of existence. So there's different styles of like people who don't believe in God. You really can't.
And God can be in many forms.
Well, God is in every form.
In every form.
There's no way that God can't be everything all at once, and that's the beauty of it. Unfortunately, the human mind is designed to look at everything from like a subject-object manner, and everything's just a bunch of various different objects, that do this and that and this and that and this and that, and everyone's definition and association as to what those objects are supposed to be. And so not everyone's really looking at the existence or form from the standpoint that, oh, wow, this is God. Like we're inside of it and it's manifest into everything all at once. And here we are in the magic of all this. A lot of people they've lost that magic because their mind is completely separated from or splintered from the conscious awareness that the presence of God is in all things. It's not something that just created us and pushed us away from it. Like it's all happening within the mind and body of God, and it birthed us inside of it, and we have our beingness of it. And a lot of people they're not looking at the omnipresence and the totality of the Creator. They're looking at just a bunch of objects, and then they're saying, oh, well, where is this God? I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I see a bunch of objects. And if it is there, maybe it's just way out there somewhere in outer space, like distant and apart from us or something like that. And it's just, I might be going way off.
But it's external from us. And
Yeah. So like that's the other thing. Like I don't think you can prove to people philosophically the reality of God if they don't have the consciousness for it, and they're just not there spiritually. I think a lot of times when it comes to the Creator, it needs to be a personal emotional experience. And I believe that at the root of every soul, we're being called back to our original state and place, and back to our union with God and our place in the kingdom of heaven together, and our awareness of God and God's love and our relationship to it. And whether you believe in God or not, I think at the very deepest place of the immortal soul, we're all being slowly kind of reeled in. It might take everyone a different length of time to make it back there, and everyone will have to go through their own kind of twists and turns and awakening and understanding to make it there. But I know firmly that everybody does.
You got a lot of your insights from the Course in Miracles, right?
Going in, aren't you? All in one podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Would you recommend that book for people?
I would. If you're ready for it.
How do you be ready for it?
If it shows up in your life and you have a sense within your being that you want to live in a spiritually awake state, and especially for the people who, if there's any sense within you that you're done with being here on this physical earth, not from that standpoint, meaning like not from the standpoint of like, oh, it's horrible and I just want to be gone from here and like, oh, I'm going to take my own life. Nothing like that. Meaning like if you feel within your heart and soul like you're an ancient soul and you're in the process of kind of graduating spiritually, or if you feel like these are, your final lives or lifetimes, when you're called. You know when you're called by God, and you know when you're called by your guardian angels spiritually, and when it's time to find your way back to the peace of God and the awakening of your immortality in your soul, and you just know. It's real clear. And that book is a powerful, powerful conduit, teaching aid and teacher for the process of spiritual awakening and reunion with God and ascension. Extremely. And you can see it in the works of the more developed students of A Course in Miracles. You can see it in Eckhart Tolle, Marianne Williamson, the other teachers of A Course in Miracles, or who are the other teachers that were students of A Course in Miracles. Some of them are escaping my mind.
Bible.
Matt Kahn. There's a lot of great spiritual teachers on the earth right now that were direct students of A Course in Miracles. You can see the fruits of their labors and how many people they've helped. Just the beautiful works that they've created. So, and that's definitely a testament of the nature of the teachings in A Course in Miracles.
Who is the author of The Course in Miracles? And
who was the author,
yeah.
or who was where did it come from?
Where did it come from?
A Course in Miracles is a manuscript that was telepathically dictated to a woman who was at the time just a very successful psychologist named Helen Schuckman. And with the assistance of one of her colleagues, as the angels were dictating, the angels and Yeshua were dictating A Course in Miracles, as she was receiving it, she spoke it out loud, and he recorded everything. So it's not really as much like a human author as it was like a woman that was receiving all the insights into her mind.
She's getting the downloads.
Yeah. And then like him recording it. So I like to say that it's the angels, holy archangels, and the Ascended Master's manuscript for helping people graduate from this earth.
How do we graduate from this earth?
You wake up spiritually, balance out your karmas and the areas that need to be addressed within you and healed, and coming to terms with all those things, and continue to apply the principles set forth in the various teachings of ascension, depending upon whatever path you've taken, or depending on the teacher that's guiding you forward. I mean, that's a loaded question. So like Definitely. That in itself, like spend a few hours just talking about the ins and outs of the initiatory process, but it's involved, and it takes a lot of dedication and time. Like when I went through my process with A Course in Miracles, I spent all through my 20s, from it was 22 to into my 30s, studying, not just studying Course in Miracles, but practicing meditation, learning about how to cleanse my body.
Tell us about all your.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely went off the deep end in my teens, and I was not being kind to my body at all. So
what were you doing in your teens that wasn't kind to your body? I'm sure a lot of people can relate.
I had a nasty methamphetamine addiction. I was living a fast life. So it was like fast food, or restaurant food, or not eating at all for weeks in a row. Taking substances. I mean, I was a crazy, wild, renegade teenager. So were all my friends. So we were taking good care of our physical bodies. But then when I did my 180 in my early 20s,
How did you get to your 180 in your early 20s?
I did just that.
What was the turning point?
I mean, the turning point was cumulative. There were a lot of parts to the turning point, right? So it wasn't just one major. It was there's a good amount of sequenced things that all were pushing me to there. I mean, you guys can read the book, The Call from Home. I express everything in there. But in my teens, we were, although we were selling drugs and we were living a fast life, and it was absolutely just a crazy, crazy world. It was God was using that environment to reveal and show certain elements in existence that have spiritual elements, like forces of darkness and the forces of light. And, a lot of times through my, the early part of my teens, when I was living, when I was just a drug dealer, it was just basically have fun, get high, and make money, right? So there wasn't any other element. It was just we lived a physical, secular life that was criminal in nature, but it was just have fun, stay high, and get money. So, but then it started getting really like spiritual. And some of the people in my social circles, yeah, I mean, it just got really dark, really, really dark. And
Spiritual warfare.
yeah, spiritually dark. And I was luckily I was raised with enough of like a foundation of Christianity and like man-made religion Christianity, and my understanding of God and my love for God. Although I wasn't in any way affiliated with anything spiritual in my teens,
You weren't into
or religious,
organized
nothing,
religion.
or spirituality, or nothing. Like until it started getting really spiritual, and then certain things started revealing themselves, and then I started seeing, okay, well, there's forces of light and there's forces of darkness, and this has become really like blatantly through a lot of different experiences that in itself would take a long time to cover all of it, but it made it all really, really clear to me, like what's going on here. Even that, like those revealings and those experiences that were showing me like, hey, there's this and there's that, make your choice. That in itself started the process of me pledging my allegiance to God, and then eventually changing my life to also reflect that as far as like what I do and how I do it, my lifestyle, right? I definitely got in a lot of trouble towards like right around 20 years old. I'd already gotten in a lot of trouble before that. You know, it's just a lot of things. When it's time to change, it's time to change. And when that change is especially being elicited by God and or like what it is that your soul wants to do or needs to do from the standpoint of like what's your destiny and what God's plan is for you, things just start changing. And that's just what happened. And the next thing you know, like, 180.
And what are some of the healthy things and habits that you do and incorporate into your life now that you could learn from, that people could learn from?
I mean, food.
Huge, right?
It's huge.
Some of the holistic healing practices you do with
Yeah,
food.
the clean eating, cleanses.
Raw vegan food.
Yeah, not participating in, you're all in, so I'm gonna speak to your people out there. Yeah, like
and to the people who aren't.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
are inspired.
Like not being involved. I also don't want to turn anyone away, but like turn anyone off here. But like, I think not participating in the consumption of byproducts of factory farming. I think that shit is evil. And
why is that?
It's just torturous and it's hellish. Go hang out. Go. That's just like the closest thing to hell on earth there is. And these are innocent, beautiful, beautiful, sweet little animals that all have the spark of God and the divine in them. And it's just horrible. But anyway, that's one of the things, meditation, prayer, just taking good care of myself and being a loving person and trying to help people out the best that I can and teaching people the things that have helped me and helped me grow and transform and find God. Just living it.
Why do you think God would make evil forces and bad things?
I don't think God made evil forces or bad things.
How do they come about?
I believe that that most of all that isn't of absolute light is a byproduct of creation's skewed imagination and their consciousness falling from the divine, people being here and just living out the illusion of separation from God. I believe in that space of being seemingly separate from God and apart from it in one's consciousness. The mind can go in 1,001 different darkened places. And because we are powerful beings and because God did create us, we have power in our mind and power in our thinking that is far beyond even what the physical eyes can see. And there's consequences to thoughts. And there's consequences to where we go in our consciousness, whether we're aware that we're spiritually asleep or whether we're not aware of it. And a lot of the byproducts and energetic after effects and effects and offshoots of creation's mind and their thought processes and deeds while being seemingly separate from God and spiritually asleep produces darkness, and that darkness can become collective in different ways, and it can affect other areas of the collective consciousness. And the next thing you know, you've got entire thought systems that are being based upon people being completely spiritually asleep, and those thought systems usually involve people just believing they're humans, competing against other humans, just trying to survive, and all the fear and all the just everything that comes of that isn't of love and that isn't of peace. Like, that is all dark, and God didn't create that. We created that shit, and it's our responsibility to reconcile it and rectify it. So I don't believe that. I believe that God creates in absolute light, and the polarities of light versus dark aren't on the higher dimensional spiritual planes. They're only here in the physical, and they're a byproduct of creation's doing, not God's, not the creators. That's my firm stance.
Wow, I felt the truth in that. I believe that. How do people rectify and reconcile or as a collective, could we?
I think each member has to do it within themselves, and then that is gonna,
be the change you wish to see.
Yeah, and it's everyone's responsibility, just within themselves. And if everybody will take that responsibility and do right with it, then before you know it, the collective is pretty freed up and back in alignment with that which is holy and with God and peace and love.
Amen.
I love you.
I love you. Oh, I'm putting this in.
Fun.
Aren't I? Okay, Anthony, tell us more about your Gold-Encompass practice you got going on.
Healing arts practice. Yeah, I began my training in the healing arts when I did my 180, I would say, like early 2000s. Then I became a professional, like an official professional. I was kind of like just avocational, kind of grassroots style for up until like 2009. And 2009, although I had a lot of training leading up to that point, 2009 is when I went to school for clinical hypnotherapy. And I graduated with honors from the top college for hypnotherapy called Hypnosis Motivation Institute in Tarzana, California, HMI. That was really awesome because when I graduated, like I had my first professional umbrella ever. So it was really, really awesome. And then also like when I was going through my internship, a few different situations where I was living at the time and not being able to make it to the college. I had to get a lot of my hours through pro bono sessions, like one-to-one free pro bono sessions. Like that's how I got a lot of my academic hours. So yeah, in order to do that, they were just feeding me free clients, like so many, like hundreds. I think I did like 120 sessions in my internship when you're only supposed to do like 30, right? And like, but what was so cool about that was a lot of those people remained dedicated clients to me once I graduated, and a few of them were like social butterfly types, and because they had received so much benefit from the work that we did hypnotherapeutically, they told all their friends and all their family members, and then a few of those friends and family members were social types too, who told all their friends and family members. So like when I graduated, I was just like shot out of a cannon. I was so blessed with the full-time practice, and it's so rare. I was just feeling it. Like I was like lit up. I was so excited because I had gone through all my 20s just broke, like in my training and my avocational training and the healing arts and spirituality and A Course in Miracles and veganism. I mean, I was a raw vegan chef, but I was in paying dues mode. It was like struggling, like super struggling. And also, I mean, wasn't just I was struggling. Like a lot of that was my own doing. When I went through my spiritual training in my 20s, like I purposefully just said goodbye to the world. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about like all the linear aspects of time and bills and responsibilities. And I was just kind of like.
What'd you care about?
I cared about meditation and contemplating the nature of existence, the steps of growth that I was on spiritually, and applying the things that I was learning and continuing to apply them. And so I was just like in my mind, but nonetheless, yeah, like I went through all my 20s just like struggling. I mean, I think I ate like bananas and almonds for like 5 years straight because I had no money for anything else. Like I would just.
We got to forage out here.
Yeah, I was just like eating. Like I mean, it was like that. Like it was like super paying dues. So when I graduated from hypnotherapy college and I had that full-time practice, like this was the first time.
What year was that?
It was 2009. That's the first time I had touched money in like forever. Yeah, it was awesome. And I the whole time I wanted to be able to be in a place where I could impact a lot of people. My motivation had always been like, and my prayer to God was always, show me the way that I can help more people than I had hurt in my teens and as a drug dealer. And because the reality is, especially the type of drugs we were selling, it ruined people's lives. I didn't keep track of every person who I ever, made a transaction with from the standpoint of selling them drugs, but I can see a lot of people online. A lot of people changed and they grew out of it. I don't know if everybody did, but nonetheless, like when I came out of that phase of my life, I had so much guilt and remorse, and I felt so horrible, especially from the standpoint that the reason why my mom couldn't raise me was because of drug addiction, right? So it was like, it waits, and I had such a conflict in my heart about that relationship, her and me, and her having to relinquish her rights to raise me at 5 years old, that when I came out of that phase in my teens, I began to grow spiritually and like come to terms with what I had just done. Yeah, I had a lot of guilt. It took me years to shake that. And I would just consistently just say to God, just show me how I can balance this and help more people than I'd hurt. And yeah, so when I came out of hypnotherapy college, I was like, there I was, like I had it right there in my hand, and I was so like eager, and I still had so much to learn. I wasn't greatest at what I was doing. I mean, I was good enough to where it was helping people, and they were referring everyone they knew to me. But
tell us about how hypnotherapy works for those who don't know what that is.
all right, well, we'll get to that one. That's a big one too. But yeah, my practice, it just grew and grew and grew. And then like years after graduating on my 33rd birthday, that's when I was visited by an angel. Actually, the day of my 33rd birthday, I was having a hypnotherapy session done on me. Angels weren't really on my radar. And right around that time period is the first time my practice had dipped from like seeing like...
A what? A dip?
First time it had dipped from like 20 to 30 clients a week to like under 5. And like... I was tripping out a little bit. I was questioning, like, am I doing the right thing, this and that? And, like, so the senior hypnotherapist was just like, come in for a session. We're going to get you dialed in. Like, it'll be my gift for you for your birthday. And I went in there for that hypnotherapy session. I'd been hypnotized many times before that. And, like, I went into the chair. She put me in the state of hypnosis. And then I had this experience where an angel arrived. And this angel said, I've come here today to tell you not to worry. We've been preparing you for many years to do very important work in the near future. And he induced this visual montage of all my teachers and mentors that had just found me and took me under their wing in my 20s. Most of them in which did it just out of a calling in their heart. Like I had no money to pay for training or anything. Like I was so dirt broke in my 20s. But nonetheless, like Angel was showing me this montage of like the sequence of how all these teachers and mentors were brought into my life. I mean, it was really emotional and beautiful. Really didn't know like what important work was that this angel was talking about. I thought it may be like some combination of hypnotherapy mixed with something else I had learned in the past. But yeah, it was like a matter of 7 months after that where I saw flyers for a demonstration that my mentors were doing in LA. I went to the demonstration.
What was this demonstration?
How to work with angels for purposes of diagnostic evaluation of what's going on with the health of a person's energy system and healing with angels. The work that I do now.
Wow.
During the session, I signed up for a session the next day after the demo, and during the session, that's when, as they were going through the process, my mentor said, the angels told me to tell you I'm to be teaching you how to do this. You'll be learning you'll be doing this work in the future. And they hadn't really taught that much up to that point. And then it was just a matter of a few months after that, a huge course was put together and they invited me, and then I went, and the rest is history. So yeah, I mean, my practice is just seeing clients and a lot of scheduling. So if you ever see me, I'm oftentimes on my phone too much, sitting here being my own
until you get an assistant,
secretary and assistant. But yes, there's a lot of scheduling and just, keeping track of, keeping up with people after their sessions and just showing up. I have a practice. My practice is split. It's based out of Southern California. I have an office in Costa Mesa, Orange County, also Santa Monica, and I sometimes see clients at my house in Laurel Canyon, and I also see clients all around the world through WhatsApp video or just video calls.
So you can do it remotely too.
Yeah, like Zoom or whatever.
And you have like a body.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so
I'm gonna go into all the ins and outs of how it all works. The remote work is just as effective as the physical sessions. I like working with people in person, but it's all, as far as like hypnotherapy.
You still do that, right?
Yeah. I have a lot of hypnotherapy clients. I have a ton of them coming in right now, as a matter of fact, because I just recently helped this woman lose a bunch of weight doing weight loss hypnotherapy. So,
oh, whoa.
She's sending me all these weight loss clients, which is cool, but.
So tell us how it works then.
So like hypnotherapy basically is using hypnosis for therapy. And what is hypnosis? Hypnosis is a trance-like state that's kind of like a state of consciousness that's in between being perfectly awake and completely asleep. There's 180 degrees of that state of consciousness. Using various different tools and techniques, we work with the person's different areas of the person's mind and body in order to lead them to a place of heightened receptivity and suggestibility, or a trance-like state, which is very physically relaxed but mentally still present, receptive, and suggestible. There's specific elements of the hypnotic state that allow a person to receive insights in the form of positive suggestions, both verbally and visually, in order to change how they feel or behaviors, or help people heal and let go of things from the past, or achieve certain goals, or accomplish certain things that they have in mind that they want to accomplish.
What intrigued you about hypnotherapy?
When I was young, when I was really, really young, before I knew anything about any of this, my first book ever, my grandma, she took me to a bookstore, and she told me she was like, just have at it. She was like, just go find you a book. Whatever you want, I'm going to get it for you. And I went through this whole place and this bookstore, and I don't know, I was maybe 11. And the book that really called me was a book by Edgar Cayce called The Super Subconscious Mind. And it was so advanced. I mean, I was 11 years old, and I remember just reading through this thing and most of the words not being able to even know what they meant, but still just pushing through it. I remember reading 2 or 3 times, but still not knowing what the hell was being said, but still something in me saying, just keep reading and keep reading it. So that was my first introduction to so I was always fascinated by the mind, even when I was younger. Yeah, so that's where it began, and I've always just been interested in the mind and how things work. So it's
just grown from there.
Yeah.
Since 11.
Yeah, and then how I found out about the college, I was right around 2008. I was transitioning out of I was being transitioned out of raw vegan chefing to more to honoring my other training that I was going through in my 20s, in the healing arts. This is before hypnotherapy college. I was reading one of these Natural Awakening newsletter magazines in Southern California when I had moved back here or moved back there. In the back of that publication, there was a big ad for the hypnotherapy college. And the moment my eyes hit it, I could hear a voice say, "This is your next step." And I was just like, okay. And I reached out to them immediately. Did I answer your question? Maybe
yes,
I might
be.
Yes,
it did.
I'm all over.
I'm glad that you listened to your intuition. Thank you for your explanation. It's very thorough. I love the way you articulate yourself.
Thanks.
Very wise.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Very much proud of you. You do.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too.
Oh, thank you. So how can people find you and contact you to get in touch with your healing arts that you do so well?
You can find me on social media. I'm not huge on there as far as
How can people reach out to you if they want to do a session? How about that?
Yeah, I mean, just text me on direct or on WhatsApp.
What's your number, babe?
I mean, yeah, it's public, so
it's public.
It's 949-939-7219, and my website is Gold
GOLD
dash Encompass
EM.
No,
EN.
ENCOMPASS.com. So gold-encompass.com. Everything's there. Instagram, I'm gold.encompass. So I'm there too.
And you can find out more information on your website, which is...
Yeah, everything's there. And all my testimonials are there, and all my testimonials are also on Instagram.
Believe and you shall receive.
That's so true. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Okay, well, this has been a great podcast, and I'm so honored you're here.
I'm honored to be here. This has been awesome. It's great to talk about all of this.
From California all the way to Chicago.
I love it here. It's awesome. I've had a great time. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good job, babe.
Yeah.
You're a good interviewer.
Right?
You are. You're such a natural in front of the camera and public speaking.
Yeah. I would love to do more public speaking.
Oh, you are. It's in your future. You are. You're going to be. You're going to be the face of our empire is what you're going to be.
Okay.
mean, yeah.
I would love
It's
that.
not gonna. I'm not the talker. You're the talk. You're much better at talking, so it's not gonna be me.
But you talk good too.
I mean, I can't be the voiceover. You're so eloquent. Like you're really, really like you're good. You're good. You sound so professional. You're just good. Your command of your voice is solid. Shows you're confident. You're really confident. You really are a confident girl. You are. Is that just you, or is that the tiger in you? What is it? Is it just you?
I think it's both. I think it's a mix of both.